What is up, everyone? Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Game Cast. I am one of your hosts, Kenny, and with me is Tess.
Hello, everybody.
And we are back for episode 89. Going to be another short episode this week. Like I said, we're trying to, slowly pick things back up. And yeah, there's some interesting stuff going down. Interesting stuff going down. Before we get into what's been happening, though, I want to shout out GameSpot. My top anime for 2022 list is up. It actually went up yesterday, I believe. So breaking the
Cool.
fourth wall. Today's Thursday. Yeah, it went up yesterday, and yeah, I listed a bunch of different anime that I thought were great. And there's an asterisk also. This is so far. So I know that there's some new anime coming like Chainsaw Man and whatnot. I haven't seen that yet, so I haven't added that to the list. But I got 10 shows that I think are really good. Some of them are new. Actually, most of them are new. And I think you guys should check it out. Definitely go over to GameSpot. I'll just shout out a few names. Spriggan. We talked very lightly about Spriggan before. I reviewed the anime over at IGN, and I want to add it to my list because I'm a big fan of Spriggan. If you're a
Yeah.
fan of the manga, or if you saw the really great film that they released a while back, the
hmm
show is pretty good. It doesn't have a lot of character building because they're doing more so world building. So you have
hmm
characters that kind of come in and go in each episode. The idea is that they're going to be back once if they have a second season. You know how Netflix cancels stuff. If they have a
Yeah.
second season, just like the manga did the same thing where a character would pop up and then be gone and then come back, is because they're trying to establish the world hierarchy and everything in it first, and then build up the characters and whatnot. But it's an awesome premise. Basically, there's out of place artifacts that are from like historical texts and religious texts. The easiest one is Noah's Ark, being a time machine, earth destroying weather machine type thing. It's really cool. Definitely go check that out. It's on Netflix. Um, Another one that I want to mention is Love After World Domination, which is really cool. I'm usually not into the animated romantic comedies, but this one was really cool because of the premise. If
hmm
you've heard of Super Sentai or basically Power Rangers, one of the characters who is the Red Ranger or Sentai falls in love with one of the villains named Reaper Princess. And it's funny because not only are they being teenagers, they're new to dating. So like it took them multiple dates to actually start to hold hands. So you get to see all this cute silliness between them, but then also, or sorry, not silliness, but innocence between them. But it's also the fact that they can only date when the two teams are fighting. Like the two teams fight. So like imagine like Power Rangers, they're fighting the putties or whatever, and then the Red Ranger and one of the villains go off to like sit and have a picnic while explosions and things are happening in the background.
It's so
It's really
cute.
really silly, and the fact that the world plays it straight, like when you're in school, you either are basically a normal person, so like you train to be a doctor or whatever the case may be, or you train to be a hero and join one of the hero groups, or you train to be a villain, and like everyone is okay with that being a thing, like uh you know they like the villains are the bad guys, but this is a career path you could choose. Like it's a if you've seen the Venture Brothers, it's along those lines. And to me, I said it in my article, it was basically a mashup between Power Rangers and an awkward rendition of Romeo and Juliet. That's the best way I can kind of explain it. But yeah,
hmm
definitely go check out that list. I have a lot of solid different anime that I think people would like. There's different types. There's horror, comedy, a lot of shonen action. I also put Kataro Lives Alone because
hmm
it's great, even though it's sad. That came up as number 6. So just to let you know
Cool.
where it's at. But yeah, so I did that. I got a bunch of articles that dropped over the week, as well as one going up tonight. I reviewed Day Shift and with Jamie Foxx, and since this is gonna drop after the embargo, I can actually tell you that that was really good. It's fun. It's a fun vampire film that is
hmm
reminiscent of like maybe Lost Boys and The Expendables because it's wildly violent. Like it's really
Okay.
violent, but like in a fun way. Like seeing Jamie Foxx suplex a vampire is great. It's just really great. James Franco. I'm not a. I don't dislike him.
Hmm.
but he wasn't. I'm just not a huge fan of him either. I like some of his films, but I felt like here he wasn't very funny. He was just kind of like there for the most
Oh,
part. Um,
interesting.
I don't think he gels well with Jamie Foxx. As you know, they do this buddy
Oh,
cop thing.
maybe.
Yeah, and like the buddy cop thing doesn't really work all the way. Like I think like for instance, like Kevin Hart and Ice Cube, I don't think mesh really well together for their ride along film. But I
Hmm.
think Kevin Hart and The Rock in anything works. They just
Yeah.
they feed off of each other in a really funny way. And so like I don't think, and it could be potentially that this is Jamie's first time working with him, so
Hmm.
that could be the case. But all of the humor really comes from Jamie, being a seasoned comedian and whatnot. A lot of
Yeah.
it lands on his feet. But that being said, it's still great. It's silly and just a really good time. It's a popcorn flick. So that'll be dropping tomorrow, which will be Friday, on Netflix. Definitely check that out if you can. Beyond that, let's jump into today's topic,
Hmm.
which is basically HBO Max, and all the goofiness that's happening with with that well, with their parent companies, Warner and Discovery. If you didn't know, Discovery bought Warner from AT&T, which is that's a whole lot of stuff right there to kind of get my head around because I didn't even know AT&T owned Time Warner, but apparently they did, and they sold it
If
to
you
Discovery.
were watching your shows, you would know that because John Oliver says that like every week.
Oh, a word? Okay. Actually, you know what he does, and it could be something that I just forgot because you don't
Hmm.
think about it. Like for instance, we were talking off air. You don't think about all the things that Comcast owns, but they own a
Hmm.
lot, you
And
know.
everything.
And I think it's because that they kind of they keep it on the low for obvious reasons. You know, they don't want anyone looking into all of it. You know, in the terms of like a monopoly. And so certain things is like, you know, this entity or this company can be separate in a way. Like you think about Google and was it the Alphabet company? It's the same company, but they split it so that the shareholders are okay with Google going one way and Alphabet going another. Similar, you know, in this regard. But yeah, jumping back to Discovery, Discovery took over and it's shaking up things, but not in a good way. Everybody expected layoffs because that's kind of what happens. There's a restructuring, if you will, when a large company buys another large company because there's redundancies, right? They if they have similar roles or positions that they don't need, people might be let go. It's an unfortunate thing, but it seems to be going a little bit further than that because films are being let go. Batgirl was canceled, and which is an odd thing to say considering it was just about done, like completely for the most part. I think there's like, you know, they have to go in and do, you know, editing and stuff like that, but it was for the
Hmm.
most part done, and it was supposed to drop on HBO Max, the app, and Discovery was like, mm. And I think from what was said via a uh, you know, the conference call that they had, it was that it was for tax reasons or you know, something to that regard where they would actually recoup more money canceling the film than they would if they put on HBO Max. And I think that is probably reasonable in a you know, shortfall kind of way, like immediate money back versus long term,
Hmm.
because everyone knows that like HBO has really good shows, really good films, and that's what keeps people subscribed. Because the
Yep.
app, let's be real, the app isn't that great. Like just functionality of it
Yeah.
is not that great, but the
It's not that
content
great.
is. You know what I'm saying? And so canceling great content, though it would put you at a loss early on, it could help. It could help. You know, you know, down the line, further down the line. The reason why you can sell, you know, potential subscribers new content is because of your old content. If you have the pedigree, you know, that says like, hey, we make award-winning shows. You know, we make, you know, the Game of Thrones, the Insecures, the,
Hmm.
you know, whatever the case may be. Then you can have another Game of Thrones. You can have another, and people will be like, oh, what? I like this and that. Let me go see what this other thing is. You know, but at the same time, I'm not a CEO. I don't own any of this stuff, so I can't really speak to what it is in terms of, you know, some type of monetary gain. What I can say is that as a subscriber or even a potential resubscriber, that doesn't make me want to jump back over and you know, subscribe. It doesn't,
Yeah.
especially considering that this one was really cool because it had Leslie Grace, who's gonna be the first Latina. major character in the DCU extended universe film. You also brought Michael Keaton back as Batman. Like, it just there's just so many good things that could have happened from this film that, yeah, it just seems like a really short-sighted thing to do, to cancel. And that wasn't the only thing canceled. There's
I
other
hear
things
you.
canceled. The new Scooby Doo film. And granted, I thought Scoob was bad, but a sequel would have been okay. That film, like all the artists that worked hard on that, and it was basically done. Like they left and found out about it when the world found out that it was canceled. That has to be heartbreaking. You know, that's a ton of stuff, a ton of work of spending their lives in whatever, creating this thing that will never see the light of day. Because in order for the tax breaks to actually happen, they can't make any money from these films, which means they will never be released,
Just
which is
crazy.
tragic. Yeah, it's tragic. But anywho, so we're gonna start there, and I'm gonna pass the mic over to Tess. But yeah, I'm just like blown away by what's been happening the last few weeks.
Well, the first thing that I really need to say, I think the most important thing to say is that I need to apologize directly to Amelia Clark.
A word.
Um, I really do, because and also, not to dampen this apology, but to anybody I talk shit about. But I and you know this, I love Amelia Clark. I always say that. I've always said that I love Amelia Clark. I really, really do. But I always was never really happy with her portrayal of Daenerys. And I just want to take that back. I do. I take it back. I take it back 1,000-fold. Like, I don't know anything. And on top of it, we have this show. It's our show. I say anything I want. I typically I just say what I want in the moment. I might not even mean it. I just say things. And I really, really just want to say sorry for forever, forever saying anything negative about her being cast as Daenerys. I have a soft spot in my heart for anyone who has had any type of brain injury. Obviously, I had my own, and not knowing that this woman literally had like a whole stroke and had part of her part of her brain removed, and literally went back to work.
Oh
Come on,
wow.
man. I feel like such a twat, because I just I just do. And I mean, I don't know anything. Okay, I'm not anything. I'm not a casting director. I'm not anybody. The only thing I truly hold my I will die on the hill that Cowboy Bebop live action was a terrible show, and that's that. And I
Well, I
will
mean,
die on
that's
that hill.
factual.
I have no problems doing that, but I just take back anything. If I've ever been recorded and I'm memorialized on the interwebs, for ever saying anything negative about Amelia Clark's portrayal of Daenerys Targaryen in Game of Thrones, I take it back. I just take it back, and I'm a twat, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Amelia. And it's that simple. And I am so glad that you healed from your brain injury. And that must have been like literally horrible and scary and terrible. And I only suffered a small fraction of what this woman went through, and could have literally lost her entire career off of what happened to her. And I feel I like lots of just there's just feelings there. So
How did I not know that?
yeah, well, a lot of people didn't know. I mean, whatever, she's a private person. But
Well, yeah, true, true,
but
true.
yeah, but when she had said this like some months ago or some time ago, and I saw that, and I was like, ah, man, yeah. I mean, this is like I immediately went, just my brain immediately went to like anything that she could have gone. I'm literally sitting here, myself. I've got a migraine. And I suffer from migraines every day. I don't know what she's had to live through in her horrible ordeal. So anyway, shout out to her. She's the bomb. She literally went back to work and kept it moving. And so I have nothing to say about her anytime ever again. That's negative. Anything that comes out of my mouth is going to be like damn near worshiping the ground she walks on. So moving on. back to Discovery being dumb and buying Time Warner and destroying everything that we hold dear to us. Look, HBO is one of the best streaming apps out there right now. Like we said, the functionality isn't that great. The user interface isn't that great, but the content is great.
Right.
And it's got something for everybody. And I mean, it's like if you like certain style of shows, they're there. If you like gritty shows, they're there. And of course, just like you said, it's got all the DCU stuff. You can still catch up on some old things that were HBO shows that were hit back in the day, that kind of stuff. But then come to find out, that Discovery's purchase of them is just like, get rid of this, get rid of that, get rid of this. And that's really unfair because a lot of people are really concerned. Like, I don't know the validity of this, but I heard that this was part of the reason why Raised by Wolves was canceled. And
really?
and I don't know if that's factual. I just read somewhere that they're saying that this is a possibility, even though Raised by Wolves was canceled several months ago. But I mean, it's still a possibility because, they knew the merger was going through. So there's a lot of projects that could have just been stopped just because of blah, blah, blah. So it's just kind of disappointing to know. And it also just perplexes me. I'm very perplexed by the entire situation.
Right.
In my mind, I'm just thinking, are you getting rid of stuff to make room for your dumb Discovery shows? Like, all those
That's what it
reality
seems like.
shows. Like, and when we were kids, I mean, Discovery Network is not the same, just, it's a Discovery Channel, like you're watching animal shows and stuff. No, like they own everything. They own all those reality shows. They own 90 Day Fiance, I believe, in the entire franchise of 90 Day Fiance and all that kind of stuff. So are you trying to like make room for that stuff to go up? Like, I don't know. I don't know anything. And the discussion, and I'm going to continue to say that forever, but the discussion is, why would a company come in and just kind of destroy the product that, like, one thing typically when I've been through a couple mergers in companies, and one thing that one reason you typically buy another company that has products and services is for those products and services. You're not just buying the company just for the people. Unfortunately, human are capital and can be replaced.
Right.
Like, you're typically buying another organization for what they mean to the public, their draw, clearly how much money they can create, offer, whatever, and their products and services. And this one's product it's all this great content, it's all these shows. And so to like pull the plug on stuff that people are the whole reason why people are continuing to pay for their HBO services, because Game of Thrones is over. There were a lot of people back in the day who were like, oh, I only re-up. And you had said the same thing, Kenny. You only re-up when this show is on, and then you like turn off your subscription. But they put so much content on there, especially with Max. They have all these new shows, and they are branching, I feel like allowing other creators to make these shows. It's not just HBO original. It's not just the regular network saying this is what we're going to make. They're literally working with indie people, and it's like, hey, I have this is what I'm writing, this is what I want to create. Will your studios be behind me on this? And they're like, yeah, absolutely, let's do it. Why? We need content.
Right.
Everything is content. Don't forget to film it. And I don't know, I usually appreciate the stuff that goes on HBO. It can be pretty raw, it can be pretty heavy, it can be pretty gritty. And that's typically why people would have HBO. You knew that if you were watching a show on HBO, it probably was not for kids. It probably was going to be either very dark or very violent or very sexual or very just deep in nature. And all of those things bring a huge audience. And that's what I'm saying is like that's something that HBO is known for outside of, pay-per-view and boxing. Because when I was a kid, I used to think the B stood for boxing.
Yeah. Yep. Not
Yeah,
even gonna hold
I
you.
didn't.
Yep.
I didn't know. I was a kid, and I still don't know things. But like I that's why people are going to HBO for this stuff. So it's just very sad to hear that Discovery's, well, since the acquisition, they are just axing content left and right. I mean, the internet is in a tizzy. People are all over the place writing, I don't know, blogs, comments, whatever, on every platform they possibly can, and are like, screaming in fear. Oh my God, all my stuff, all the stuff, all our stuff. What's going to get the axe next? I mean, John Oliver has a great show, right? But he literally used to call out AT&T, Time Warner all the time. Every week he was saying something about Business Daddy. He's always calling out Business Daddy. Is he going to start calling out Discovery, and what are they going to do? Cancel him?
I mean,
I,
potentially, that's definitely a risk, and that's it's sad because it seems like money is winning out here, and what I mean
yeah.
by that is you think like when people come in, so like let's look at Disney buying Pixar or Disney buying, because that's the equivalent, right? When
Hmm.
Disney bought Marvel and whatnot, the idea was that you guys do what you do already, like really well. We want to kind of do more of that and pull you into this other realm of things. So like Pixar does Pixar stuff really well, then they bought them and they're like, continue to do Pixar stuff. We want you to do. We already have our animation studio. Now, granted, I say that. Let me put an asterisk there because I do know that they shuttered animation studio that they bought. That made Ice Age and whatnot. So I totally get that. But it was more so that they already had two animation studios that was headed by the same person, and
Hmm.
having multiple animation studios doesn't make sense. It's unfortunate that that happened, but that's a little bit more understandable as bad as it is versus what's happening here because Discovery doesn't make what HBO makes.
Right. They
You know what I'm
don't. They're
saying?
completely different products.
All the apps are chasing HBO. Like even Netflix,
Hmm.
even though Netflix has the numbers, HBO is trying to get one of, a Sopranos. They're trying to get a The Wire. They're trying to get these things that people hold in such high regard forever and a day. And
Yeah.
they do have their Stranger Things and all that, but they don't they don't they don't manifest in terms of like quality and award season and all this other stuff like HBO does. Just doesn't.
Right.
And
Right.
so for that, I feel like for the Discovery to come in and say, "Hey, we can do this potentially better," without seemingly understanding what it is that HBO does well enough, or Warner even does well enough, is kind of telling.
Yeah.
Seeing some of the comments and quotes that are being pulled, and how we just feel like this should be done this way and this should be done that way. They see dollar signs, and
Yeah.
to an extent, that's important because I know Warner kind of made people angry when they were doing the whole, the film releases in the theater and on the app, and that caused a big kerfluffle. And directors were like, "We're out of here." So I know that that's something that they want to patch up,
Hmm.
but at the same time, I think it was a smart deal, even with it being negative, potentially negative in the forefront. The long run is it was a good deal because you got people to subscribe.
Yep. People
You want to
subscribe.
You know what I'm saying? You got this thing and you're competing with everyone's money. People are complaining about these apps being like cable now, and people are jumping left and right. People are already talking about leaving Netflix and even Disney Plus because Disney Plus announced that they're adding a commercial tier. So like it's kind of like Hulu where there's like, with commercials, without commercials. Disney Plus is
Hmm.
doing that as well, and they're raising the price of the premium no commercial version, and people are like, I don't want to pay that, which that's a whole nother thing. But the point is, when that happens, it's like, what is going to keep people subscribed if you take away some of the major things? And we're seeing some shifting here. Now, granted, the film's coming, like, I think, was it 30 days later now? That kind of made up for it. They're still not immediate, but they're coming. The exclusive films and all that stuff was still coming.
Mhm.
Batgirl and all that. So it's like, okay, we can still stick around, because you don't have a major show all the time, and a lot
Mhm.
of the legacy content can be found in other places. You can watch certain shows like Scrubs on, Amazon Prime's app. You can also watch it on another app. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can watch those
Mhm.
things. So you need the original content, and you're cutting their feet off when you take them away. You know,
Yep.
I don't want, and this is just me. I don't want. I don't really want Discovery and HBO to mingle. Like, I
Right.
guess it's cool if they have a place on the app, because it doesn't make sense to have two apps. But I don't really want it to be this thing where, okay, we need to make up new reality shows for HBO. No, let HBO be HBO. Like, you know, like, let it stay the way it is, because it works. There might be some rough edges here and there, but it freaking works. Like,
Yeah.
and of all films to cancel, and granted we haven't seen it, but it feels like, the movie that is being talked about right now outside of Batgirl is The Flash, and is because of, Ezra Miller's shenanigans.
Yeah, man. Those are some massive shenanigans.
Putting a pin there, I want to just make this known. My realizing that Ezra Miller changed their pronouns to they and them, and if I slip, it's my bad. I just want to make that known early, that that's not my intent. But I found out about the change in the midst of all the police reports, if you will. And it wasn't
Mhm.
something that I knew prior. So just wanted to throw that out there. But yeah, Ezra Miller, apparently they broke into someone's house. They were arrested in Hawaii for, was it, I think, lewd behavior, or no, basically a lot of stuff is going on. I mean, I'm hearing about people that were living with them, and that family is now missing. The police are looking for the family because apparently the children were put in danger, and
Mhm.
he
The
had
the little
they
kid had a bullet in their mouth.
right, the kid. That's what I was gonna say. The kid had the bullet in his mouth, and, like, what? How do they even know the kid had a bullet? Did he put it on live? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't,
I
I
don't
don't,
know.
and like his parents weren't home, and he was like, "Hey, look what I got! I got a bullet." Where did he find a bullet? Like, what is happening over there? Like, what is happening? And then this is not just in one spot. Like, Ezra Miller, because the family is one thing that was living with them, but then Ezra Miller is you know causing drama in different states, like, over and over and over. And so
Mhm.
now Warner is like, or Discovery Warner is like, hey, do we have them promote the film still? Do we have them reshoot, or, like, to remove them from the film, or do we cancel the film? Already, Discovery's like, we're not canceling. They like the film. They watched it along with the new Shazam. They're like, we're gonna keep it, and it's gonna be a big blockbuster hit. But isn't that kind of like, I mean, I'm sure people are gonna watch it regardless. Like, I'm pretty sure, because it's the Flash, and it's part of the
Yeah.
DCU. That, Batman shows up. I'm pretty sure that people are gonna watch it, so they're
They
gonna
have
make
to.
money. But isn't this kind of a bad look on Discovery's part?
I mean, it is a bad look, especially, like, I mean, I get that that Ezra Miller needs to, what is it called? He still needs to have his day in court, like, I understand that part, but it's
If he
like,
Right.
right, because it's just like, okay, this individual is doing or is being accused of X, Y, and Z, like, all of these things, they keep running into trouble, and but however, no court has proven their innocence or guilt, and therefore, um, Time Warner, because they're not here anymore. Discovery is sitting there like, well, yeah, let's let it play out. It's gonna make us lots of money, and yeah. So they're just basically like, if it all does go down and Ezra Miller gets jailed or whatever, they'll be like, that's okay. We're really, DCEU is really good at just swapping out main characters. So we'll just do that. Like,
I
nobody's
mean,
going to ask any questions.
Marvel does it, did it. So it's definitely, they took out Terrence Howard, they took out crap, his name dropped out of my head, but like the
They
person who
put
played the
Don
Hulk.
Cheadle back in, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
you know what I
mean,
mean?
they had a really hard time making sure they could keep a Hulk.
Yeah. Yeah, right?
They had a hard time, but they ended up figuring it out.
Yeah, and I think and then unfortunately, they have already shot the film is done.
Yeah, it's
So
done.
like do you
Mm.
scrap I'm pretty sure this is 100 million, you know, dollar film. Do you scrap the whole film? I don't know. I don't know. I think a more forward statement, though, other than we like it, should be made, especially with you canceling things that were promising and all the actors and actresses or whatever didn't do anything to be in a negative light. Because I don't necessarily believe that, if you do something wrong, then your means of survival should be taken away if it's what you're doing isn't actually putting you in position to do those negative things. For instance,
Mhm.
if like we see maybe an actor gets a DUI and or wrecks their car or something, and it's like their money or their status film wise isn't a direct link to them being because they could be a drunk driver regardless
Sounds
of what
like
they're
Anne
doing.
Hesh.
Right.
Sorry,
Like
Anne. Sorry, I just had to put that out there.
yeah, it's like they could be doing that regardless of their profession. Where on the flip side, R. Kelly, his power to do horrible things came from his music. So
Yeah.
like he should never be, you know, like yeah, you know what I'm saying? So like I don't
Mhm.
necessarily believe that they have to go that route if they were to cancel or whatever the case may be. I mean, definitely potentially not hire them back, but I don't think you necessarily have to be like, okay, you can't make whatever residuals you're supposed to make because of whatever the case. However, there should be some type of stance like, hey, Ezra, you can't be doing this. Like you got to chill out a little bit. Like this is, what I mean? Like this is
Yeah.
rough.
I don't know
And
what's going on with him, with them.
it's hard and when I actually tweeted on Twitter that, where I was asking, is this like a kind of like a call for help, or was this always going on but no one knew about it? The whole idea of them having a, what was it, a drug farm? Not a drug farm, that sounds worse than it
No,
was.
but there is a farm.
Is it? I thought it was like
The house
marijuana.
Yeah, the house is on a weed farm or something. That the house in Vermont's on a weed farm, but there was apparently a cult.
Oh, there's okay okay, so I did hear that correctly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I thought there
that's
was a cult in like Iceland or something. I don't know. There's a cult
that's
somewhere.
what. And look, the dude
My
the dude
head
who
hurts
play,
so bad. I can't. I'm just I, I can't I'm sorry. I'm thinking of all the things you were just said. Like call for help, cry for help, and like no, like Ezra Miller's still young. And so there could be things happening. There could be a psychotic break happening. It's true because sometimes these things form us to like, a lot of times we feel like bipolar disorder might manifest in a person's 30s. If they're going to ever have it at all, if a person is ever going to be bipolar, it's going to manifest at latest like 33. It's like
yeah, yeah,
that.
yeah.
And so it's almost like this thing. It's like, okay, it's happening. Like it was always, but or is it? Like I don't know. We don't know. I don't know anything. So
Yeah, because it's hard to say because you don't just develop a weed farm overnight. Like I've never done that, so I don't
let
know. But that's not an overnight type
me
of
call all
bag,
my weed farms and find out if they came up overnight. I'll just
right?
call
Like
them.
to a and apparently it's illegal. It's not like a they got a
Yeah,
license,
it's unlicensed.
right? And look. Apparently, you can have a cult and still get work. Jared Leto is granted his movie was horrible. is still
Yeah.
getting work, you know?
Yeah.
So like it's
It's true.
definitely a thing, but you know, potentially putting people in danger, attacking people. I believe there was, more so than assault. I think there was a kidnapping or something to that effect, like or
Yeah.
holding someone without their. I don't think is it kidnapping, like holding someone, you know, I guess hostage, like they wanted to leave
Yeah.
and they wouldn't let them leave, something to
It's
that
still
effect.
considered kidnapping.
Okay, okay. So yeah,
Yeah.
just a lot of that, and they don't seem to be facing any penalty. Like there's, they went to jail and then they I guess they're
Got
out
it.
on
Oh,
bail, and then they went to jail again in another state and they got out on bail, and then there's no I haven't seen any trial dates. Uh, as I'm looking online,
fate
like
of the Flash.
I don't see any trial dates anywhere.
I don't know. Maybe the judges are part of the cult. Like, I don't know. It's a
that's
possibility.
that's definitely a, that's definitely a possibility. I mean, and there,
I think it's
where there's a lot of
possible.
money, there's, and rich people tend to skate a lot. They
Yeah.
get away with a lot of stuff. But yeah, it's just uh looking at all the stuff that was happening, it's like, wow. I'm surprised that the Flash didn't get at the very least pushed back again. To
I
kind of
know.
let things die down a little bit, and and granted, I know that it might be difficult to do that because these films have to go in order per se,
Yeah.
being a part of the DCU. But yeah, I'm surprised it didn't get pushed back.
Yeah, I was a little surprised on that, that it didn't get pushed back. But I think that if I think the people with the money or people talking about the money, those important people involved are probably feeling like, well, if we push it back and Ezra Miller has a trial and it's bad, and then we can't release the movie, then we have a lot of problems. So they're going to have to pay a lot of people, and maybe they didn't want to do that. Maybe they didn't want to start off with a loss. They didn't want to start off with something somewhat $100 million losses. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just a possibility. I mean, I don't know anything, so I really making
Yes,
stuff up.
that's the name of our show. We don't know anything. We
Nothing.
really
Like,
don't. All of this
don't ever
is
say
like,
anything.
yeah, this is all speculation, and just about the things that we are seeing and are somewhat privy to. We don't really know the inner workings of any of this stuff because we're not
Right.
allowed to know. They haven't
Yeah.
shared all that stuff. It's just very interesting, all the controversy and all of the shenanigans over at Discovery. I'm hoping that the app comes out and it's still good. When they finally merge, I'm hoping that they don't continue to cancel all the animated shows and the upcoming films. Um, there's a bunch of different things that were still on the table in terms of being developed and whatnot that actually haven't saw the light of day yet that could be canceled. I hope people don't get laid off. I'm hoping for the best, but we'll see. And that is our show for today. I told you it's going to be another short one. Uh, there's a lot of stuff to talk about though, so definitely hit us up in the comments if you want us to talk about a specific movie, a specific television show, a even maybe a different genre that we don't definitely cover. Like my wife is big into K-drama, and I've watched a bunch of them with her, and so I could definitely talk about that. Could definitely talk about it. Yep.
To K dramas. We can talk about sport. We can do
Oh,
anything.
yeah, we can. We could definitely do that. Although I haven't been watching as of late. It's kind of it's this weird thing where like not having access or maybe having access to too much content pulls you away from other stuff, and then you just
Yeah,
don't
definitely.
seemingly have the time. Like I used to watch a lot of basketball and football, and there was the whole Colin Kaepernick thing, and then I stopped watching
Hmm.
football, and then with
Yeah.
basketball, it was like we had the pandemic, we had the domes, and it was just a
Uh-huh.
little, it was off, and then I didn't have access at one point to like some of the other stuff, and like so my interests kind of changed because like, oh, I'm looking at Netflix more often, HBO more often, and now I'm like lost. I'm like, who's playing for who now? Someone got traded where? But that is definitely a thing we could do. Maybe invite one of my homies up here who's like big on basketball to kind of talk about these things. There's some news going down with Serena apparently retiring. That's newsworthy. We could definitely talk about those things. Let us know if you're listening on YouTube. Go ahead and write in the comments, and we'll sort through that. If you're listening on iTunes or Google Podcasts or any of those other places, Amazon, definitely subscribe and add us to our RSS feed so you're up on all the new content that's coming out. We have some planned special guests who agreed to show up on the podcast. I can't say any names just yet because schedules conflict and we might not be able to, stuff happens, what I'm saying? So I don't want to say their person's name, but it's a pretty cool guest, so you'll definitely want to stick around for that. And yeah, I think that's it for notes.
I don't really have anything since I know nothing, and I think that's it. So just remember, everybody, to be safe out here because there's things called monkeypox. COVID still exists, and apparently so does polio. So just be safe out there. Wear your masks. Wash your hands. Don't be a dick, and be kind and rewind. I'm allowed to say that, right? I mean, I know it's the title of a movie and stuff, and it's not like my slogan, but am I allowed to say that?
We'll have to check with legal. I don't know.
Our legal department consists of no one sitting at a desk, so we just say what we want.
They don't know anything either. Yeah.
We don't know anything. Anyway, that's it for you guys. We hope to see you next week or maybe a week after. Not sure, but that's okay. Have a good one, everyone. Bye-bye.